Dummy iPhone Fold models just leaked, and they point to a bold move from Apple. A compact, almost square phone when closed, then a small tablet screen when opened. If these dimensions are even close, Apple isn't copying the usual tall, narrow foldable shape. It's chasing something that feels more like a pocket iPad mini, and that one decision affects everything. How it fits in your hand, how it fits in your pocket, how apps will look, how the cameras might be arranged, and even whether MagSafe accessories still make sense. These images were shared by tipster Sonny Dixon, showing dummy units for the iPhone Fold alongside iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max dummies. Quick reminder, dummy models aren't working phones. They're physical stand-ins used for sizing, case fitting, and early accessory planning. That said, dummies tend to show real-world proportions, button placement, and the basic industrial design direction. So in this video, we're going through the first look details the dummies suggest, what the rumored specs say Apple's aiming for, and the big questions still hanging over this device: thickness, crease control, durability, MagSafe, production delays, and price. Everything here is rumor territory, but it's the most tangible set of iPhone Fold clues we've had in a while. First, according to the leaked dimensions, the iPhone Fold could be around 120.6 millimeters tall and 83.8 millimeters wide when closed. Put simply, it's shorter but noticeably wider than current iPhones. That's where the square talk is coming from. When you see it next to standard iPhone dummies, it looks compact in height, but it has that chunky width that instantly makes people argue online. And that reaction makes sense, because width is comfort. A wide phone can feel stable for two-handed typing, but awkward one-handed. It can be great for watching video on the outer screen, but annoying for pockets. It can make the device feel like a mini notebook or like a brick, depending on the final thickness and the way Apple rounds the edges. Now, the second headline, the inside screen size. When opened, the iPhone Fold is rumored to have about a 7.76-inch inner display, basically pushing into small tablet territory. Some reports round that to 7.8 inches, and that difference isn't important right now. The point is, Apple seems to want the inner display to feel like an iPad mini-style canvas, not just a slightly bigger phone screen. That's the strategic positioning. If Apple makes a foldable that opens to a real work size, it can sell the idea that this isn't a gimmick. It's a phone that becomes a mini iPad for reading, email, editing, multitasking, and maybe even light pro workflows. But there's a catch: aspect ratio. A more square inner display can be amazing for reading and browsing, but it changes how video looks, how games scale, and how apps adapt. Apple's advantage is its control over iOS and its developer ecosystem, but even then, a foldable forces a lot of UI decisions. Split screen behavior, keyboard layouts, camera kitouts, and how apps move from outer display to inner display without hiccups. If Apple goes square-ish, it's choosing productivity and comfort over cinematic widescreen. Let's talk about the outer display next, because that's where foldables live or die. Rumors suggest an outer screen around 5.5 inches. That sounds small by modern standards, but again, if it's wider, it may not feel small in use. The real question is whether Apple treats the outer screen like a full phone experience or a quick tasks display. Samsung has steadily pushed toward a more normal outer display, so you can do everything closed. If Apple makes the outer display too compromised, people will notice immediately. Now let's get to one of the most discussed details from the dummy images: MagSafe. Some viewers think the dummies show the absence of a MagSafe ring. That's not confirmed, but it's worth taking seriously because foldables complicate magnet placement. MagSafe relies on alignment, surface flatness, coil positioning, and accessory fit. With a foldable, you've got thickness differences, hinge geometry, and the possibility that a magnetic accessory could interfere with folding or sit awkwardly near the hinge. If MagSafe is reduced or redesigned, that's a huge ecosystem change. Wallets, chargers, stands, car mounts, battery packs, camera grips, all of it. Apple could replace the visible ring with a different internal layout, or it could bring a new attachment standard designed specifically for foldables. Or, the simplest answer, the dummy just isn't showing it accurately. Dummies can miss certain internal details, but even the rumor of MagSafe changing is enough to matter, because iPhone accessories are a major part of how people use these phones day to day. Apple doesn't do experimental specs on expensive products. Multiple reports say the iPhone Fold could share the A20 Pro chip expected for the iPhone 18 Pro line, built on a 2nm process paired with 12 GB of RAM. If that's accurate, Apple's positioning is clear. This isn't a novelty device with compromises. It's a top-tier iPhone, and it needs the power to drive 2 displays, handle multitasking, and run heavy camera processing. The RAM number matters because foldables encourage more multi-app usage. More splits, more floating windows, more state saved as you open and close. Apple has been conservative with RAM historically, but as iOS has matured and as Pro use cases expand, higher RAM is a practical move, not just a spec sheet flex. This is where foldables win or lose long-term trust. There's chatter that Apple may use liquid metal in the hinge system, with the goal of reducing the crease. Liquid metal, in this context, usually points to strong, durable metal alloys that can be molded precisely and resist wear. Apple has used liquid metal materials in small components before, but a hinge is a bigger deal. A hinge has to survive thousands of folds, handle dust, maintain tension, and keep the display aligned. And it has to do it without becoming loose over time. If Apple is serious about entering foldables late, it needs a hinge that feels Apple tight. Not stiff, not flimsy, not squeaky. Smooth, controlled, premium. That's a huge part of the experience. Foldables have trained people to accept a crease, but they still complain about it. It can catch reflections, it can feel odd under your finger, and depending on lighting, it can be hard to ignore. Some competitors have shown dramatic improvements, and there are even demos of near crease-free panels. Rumors suggest Apple wants to minimize the crease as much as possible, potentially with hinge engineering and a dual-layer display structure. Which brings us to the next leak. The talk is that Apple could combine ultra-thin glass with flexible layers to improve durability and reduce stress when folding. That's exactly the kind of approach you'd expect from Apple. Not one magic material, but a stack of engineered layers that spreads load and reduces weak points. The goal would be fewer micro cracks, less denting, and better long-term feel. But no matter what, durability is still the fear people have with foldables. Inner screens can scratch easier. Dust can be a problem. Drops can be catastrophic, and repairs can be expensive. Apple will have to prove that its solution is not just premium in price, but premium in survival. This is the issue nobody can ignore. Some reports claim Apple's design team wants the iPhone Fold to be dramatically thinner than current iPhones, even aiming for something like half the thickness. That's ambitious because you're stacking batteries, displays, a hinge, structural reinforcement, and cameras. Apple could use titanium and aluminum mixes, plus toughened glass, but physics still matters. To compete with the latest foldables, Apple needs to avoid the thick foldable stereotype. The dummies suggest a wide, compact device, and if that's paired with too much thickness, it could feel bulky fast. On the other hand, if Apple nails thinness, that wide footprint might actually feel intentional and comfortable, like a small notebook you can hold. Because Apple's camera identity is central. Rumors suggest the iPhone Fold may go with 2 external cameras instead of 3. That could be a design compromise to save space and thickness, or it could be a strategic choice if Apple believes computational photography can cover more use cases with fewer lenses. Either way, a foldable also changes how you shoot. You can use the main cameras for selfies with the outer display as a viewfinder. You can prop the device half open for tripod-like shots. Apple could lean hard into that. Some chatter claims trial production has started, possibly at Foxconn, hinting at a path toward mass production. But Nikkei Asia has also reported issues in early test production, basically saying more problems than expected showed up and extra time is needed for adjustments. That's not shocking. Foldables are complex. Even small yield issues can cause big delays. A hinge that works perfectly in a lab can fail in dust tests. A display stack that looks great can have long-term creasing, and Apple is known for holding launches if the product doesn't meet its standard. So, when could this launch? The most realistic rumor window people keep circling is 2026, with some speculation pushing later, potentially into 2027, depending on how engineering validation and production scaling go. Finally, this is where the who is it for question gets real. Estimates are floating between $1,999 and $2,500, and in India conversions, you'll see ranges like roughly Rs 1.76 lakh to Rs 2.20 lakh. Other forecasts land closer to $1,800 to $2,000. Either way, the direction is obvious. This would likely be the most expensive iPhone Apple has ever sold. At that price, Apple can't sell it as a fun new form factor. It has to sell it as a premium category, the new top of the iPhone line, above the Pro Max in prestige. And Apple will probably do that with 3 pillars: display quality, build quality, and software polish. So here's the real takeaway from these dummy models. If the proportions are accurate, Apple's iPhone Fold won't just be an iPhone that bends. It'll be a new shape of iPhone, with a wider, more compact closed form, and an inner display that's trying to replace the need for a small tablet in your bag. The hinge and crease rumors suggest Apple's chasing a cleaner foldable experience than what early foldables delivered. But the missing MagSafe ring rumor, the possible production issues, and the high price all signal the same thing. This product will be controversial the moment it lands. And that's before we even get to the big question. Will people actually want an iPhone that changes the iPhone formula this much? If you want ongoing updates on the iPhone Fold rumors as new leaks land, subscribe. And comment one thing. Would you rather Apple prioritize a thinner design or a more durable design, even if it's thicker? For now, these are dummy models, not a finished product. But they're a clear hint that Apple's foldable is moving from vague speculation to physical planning. If Apple gets the hinge right, keeps the crease under control, and delivers iOS features that actually benefit a foldable screen, this could be the first foldable a lot of iPhone users are willing to take seriously. We'll keep an eye on the next leaks, especially anything that confirms the final thickness, MagSafe support, and the real display sizes. So, that's all we know for now. We'll be sure to keep you updated as soon as we have more information. Thanks for watching.